still, you know, never a dull moment in the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, staying busy. I think the stream's starting to come alive here. We're up on YouTube already. Facebook for that running the way it should, but sure it is. Yes, it is. Public. Share it. YouTube has, Facebook hasn't touched nothing the last couple of days. Good.
Yeah. They haven't changed anything?
Yeah. They haven't moved stuff around. Just about ready. Today I started the recorder in the other room. I had to think about it for a second. Make sure I... One last... Oh, you guys get tired of seeing the side of my head at the beginning of the show, don't you?
It's just what you have to do, Todd, to get this thing going.
Yeah.
You know? All right.
Okay. Well, there's always something. We're okay.
Yeah.
This will be the day I lose recording. My backup's not running, so.
Hey, it has to happen at least once every, 6 months or
right.
8 months or something, right? It's just part of the game.
Because the SD card's not in there, and I don't want to run over there and grab it, but it's okay. We're all good, because I got 2 recording. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the new media show. It's a Wednesday. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm making it. You know how it's just going 100 miles an hour as usual, but
you look as tired as I did last week.
Just a lot of stuff going on, coming in at all sorts of directions. So yeah, it's an interesting time, and we got some feedback from prior episodes from people that are listening.
Yes, we have.
Yes. So
yes, we have. I don't know if we want to get into that beginning or not.
No, I mean, it's all right. I know that we saw Apple do a big update to iPhone, or iOS might be a better way of saying it, to iOS 14. So, and there's some changes that came down from that.
I did the update and I haven't even looked.
Yeah, I haven't really spent a lot of time digging into it too much, but sounds like there was some UI update, ways to view content a little bit differently in your phone. So, I do find that it can be a little confusing to use Apple's podcast app, though it's gotten there's a lot going on inside of it. So the more functions and features that you add to the app, there is a level of kind of like learning you have to go through, right? Figure it out, right? So it's not always 100% intuitive. So, yeah. So you haven't played around with it.
Yeah, I haven't.
But, it's all cool ideas, and that's all good. I know that James Gridlin did a post about it here just today, I guess. So, and showed some screenshots, which is good, which is helpful. But what's going on in your world, Todd? Anything groundbreaking right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Big groundbreaker as of yesterday. Ta-da! Yeah, we relaunched the Blueberry website and put that new version online, and
that's terrific. Well, we're going through the same thing with Lips too right now. We've got a whole new Libsyn 5, that's going to be pushed out there. There's, we're in kind of like a beta review 2 right now, so some people are able to get in and give us feedback on it, see how it works, and so It's going to be a big refresh. It as we both try and our platforms, we try and improve them and make them, more modern stuff. So
I've been heavy into UI UX stuff, so we're still progressing, and we turned a bunch of stuff over to the devs, and this is just basically the external view, and so anyway, we and really what we did, for any of you that really kind of want to understand the process of what happens when a company completely redoes a rebrand, and part of our issue is that way we were infrastructured up until last year, the homepage blueberry.com was running on our own platform, was running on our own, I called it the generator. Well, we divested of that. It's still what our podcasters see when they go in the dashboard. They still see the engine and just like you guys, you have but we made the website WordPress, and then when you link in, you're in the engine. And the first go round of the redesign of the website and the product pages and stuff like that really was, I guess for a better word, rushed, and there wasn't a lot of control. I couldn't control making changes to the website without going to the devs. And we brought on a company to basically create us, I guess for a better word, a building block system where I think I've got 25. If you look at this page that I'm showing, in this page here, there's like 2 blocks. This is a 3rd block. This is a 4th block. There's a 5th block. So this page is probably made up of 8, 9 blocks, and we came up with all the scenarios of how we wanted the jigsaw to look,
right?
And spent a pile of money so that I can go in and anyone on my team now, which also is a little bit dangerous, anyone on my team can edit, and we can make changes or add blocks or be able to, let's do an A/B test now. So I've got all this stuff set up so that it will, for better words, I don't have now to go, that's not a word. I do not have to go back to the dev team and say, I need this added. I just tell, we go through a little small review, and then we can make changes. So
that's good.
Yeah. So we have this website called Create. All that stuff is moving underneath blueberry.com. And so, from a public facing standpoint, now we're going to be very, very quickly adding 2 or 3 new pages to this site. Some of this page is still linked to the old site, as an example. The experience changes a little bit, but let's say I do podcast hosting and I scroll down here and someone wants, this is kind of cool. Watch this little pop-up hosting estimator. But then like this page here goes to an old page and it doesn't have the new design yet. So, but you can kind of see it does look a little different. You've changed from one design to the other. It's not completely like, you've made this big move, but we basically took now we're just rebuilding every page and doing the SEO and all that stuff. So that we can compete against you.
Yeah, there you go.
Because our SEO on our site had some issues. So we'll see if we fix that with this. Ask me in 45 days of the money I spent was worth it.
Oh, well. Well, I mean, that's part of making all of our platforms better, going through these processes. So,
but for now, the back end, the guts, the podcaster dashboard of it still looks the same. But we've had, we've spent a bunch of money on a UIX designer, and when it comes out, it's going to be freaking fabulous. But we're not on version 3. We're not on version 5. We're on version 2 right now. So our next one will be version 3. Hard to believe that's part of the problem too, is we've only had 2 dashboards since our existence. And, we just got to look a little more modern, make it easier.
Yeah. No, that's exactly. Yep, I agree.
So I don't even want to talk about, the money. What it is had to be spent because we had to get this going. We had to get an update so that we look like we're the cool kids on the block again. But my team did a great job, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, and we've got a new app coming too, so yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see, as we all evolve our platform, we're seeing the market really start to elevate, right? And talking about what the next big thing is, I think is a good conversation to have. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think there's been a lot of kind of small changes, and there's been a lot of consolidation in the medium over the last couple of years. But what is that big evolutionary shift that's going to happen in the medium, that's going to keep propelling this medium forward? And I think it's always a big question, or is it just going to be small little update?
Well, I look at my crystal ball, and based upon stuff that I'm talking to my team with, I'm looking at what I have in my offering package. And if you start looking across the ecosphere of what everyone else is doing, well, I have a couple of things I want to add. And we're also thinking about, well, I can't talk about it, but we're thinking about, some new initiatives. And, ultimately it's about driving revenue. Innovation is hard, at this point, because podcasts are podcasts and they're being consumed. So, where do you innovate in, And just like you guys, I didn't want to deal with the social promotion piece anymore. So, we integrated with Headliner like you guys did so that, I don't have to worry about that piece of what they do. They do it well. So we just linked up with them, and just as you guys did, and provided the tool for the customer to easily use it. And I've got some big things coming out in PowerPress 8.4 and, integration stuff there where we're trying to consolidate. We're consolidating our own tool. So, but the app stuff, Rob, my God, that's just like, throw another $50,000 at it. App development is not, I'm like, what's the bill for phase 4? Now, you got to be kidding me. We're just adding those two features. What?
Yeah.
What?
Well, and it's not on the listening, so that we're not getting involved in the listening side.
No.
We just want to build the very best publisher tools that we can.
Right.
That enable folks to do what they want to do with their shows,
But still,
that's kind of, right. It is a lot of.
And then you kind of think about it from okay, you almost take the dice in your hands. Matter of fact, I've got dice right here from Vegas, and you shake the dice and you think what the ROI is going to be on something. You throw that down there and you hope that, the budget you've allocated for it, whatever that pile of $1,000 bills is, returns enough value to to pay for it, and not necessarily like 3 months, but within the next 12 to 18 months. So.
Well, and sometimes, I mean, when you come up with an idea or whatever, it's based on feedback from your user base, and maybe it's not a huge hit for ROI.
Right.
It's all incremental stuff, right?
It's stuff you have to have
over time, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't know, Todd, if you've seen this or not, but I signed up for a Kickstarter project that was working on some new hardware, and I wanted to mention it too. It's called Hook Lob, and HOOKE Lob. Have you heard of this?
Already did it.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I did too. I signed up for it too.
I got 2.
You got two of them?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I only
did.
got one.
I got two. It's another thing that's going to go in my drawer that probably won't get used very much. But
well, I don't know. I thought that I might try and use it with some of the videos that I do.
Oh, yeah, maybe
here and not use this as much. I mean, I have a lav mic here, but it sounds like this one has the ability to actually record directly into it,
right?
And then also has some noise canceling technology inside of it too.
Yep.
So
let me see if
I think that's kind
it.
of the next big thing that's coming is a more and more mic going to have noise cancellation. My only fear with that is that it somehow doesn't make the audio as good. I don't know. I mean, as you remove stuff from audio, there's a danger, right, that it takes out too much.
Yeah. So here it is, Hook Lav. And yeah, it says you're a backer. You pledged $216. Yes, I did.
Yep.
So 28 days to go. They've raised their money. But it's, again, I've got a professional labs too, but sometimes it's just, here's what's driving this actual, what app is driving the sale?
I would imagine like Facebook Live, YouTube Live, the Instagram Live, TikTok, all that.
TikTok is the major driver of supporters on this so far.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's so convenient. It's one of those things that's really been missing. My only concern is that any Bluetooth connection is just not very reliable. It can be very much disrupted. And I think that's why they had the option. I don't know if the option. I think it comes with it as like a little bass unit that the microphone and the bass unit connect to, like, let's say a mixer or your mobile phone or something like that. It doesn't use it doesn't use Bluetooth from the microphone into the mobile device. It actually goes through a separate device that then gets funneled up. But I guess it has more to do with the being able to plug it in or something like that, or if you don't have Bluetooth 5, which I guess is the latest version. I mean, a lot of devices support the latest version of Bluetooth, and that's where people run into problems with these things.
Hey, Joseph. Hey, David. Welcome to the live stream. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or Twitter or wherever you may be watching, please say hello. We definitely appreciate it. So, Rob, another thing that's being drove by, believe it or not, I want to show you something here. Another thing that's being drove by the TikTok crew is, whoops, let me see if I can find it here. Oh yeah, this is what's also selling. Selfie rings are huge right now with that TikTok group. So, because they're they're using their cell phones and they're making those little videos and stuff. The selfie rings are those manufacturers have made out like bandits. Over the past, just because of TikTok.
Small ones that you can get, and then there's really big ones. I've seen them as big as like 20 inches in diameter or something like that. But a lot of them are more personal rings, like maybe 8 inches, 10 inches, that kind of thing.
So the Chinese that make these things, this one right here, $36.99. And they've got 4 different or 3 different colors for it, which is. I'm just kind of surprised. It even comes with a tripod. So, yeah, I just it is pretty amazing what certain technologies drive. And if you look at the podcasting space and everything that's going on with what we do in podcasting, what do we drive? We drive Roadcaster sales. We drive microphone sales, and so. Those are folks that are benefiting significantly. But with that Hook Lav, I could see, that's why I bought 2, is maybe I was thinking about it is if we get back into trade show type events, if I want to do a quick interview with someone, I clip one on one person and clip one on the other, and it's good enough.
You're good to go.
Right? Yeah, it's good enough. That's the key.
Yeah, and there's no wires, and if there's noise cancellation capability in there, you can probably record in noisy environments.
But Rob, I've got a pile of Kickstarter stuff I've supported over the years that I've never used. It's these little, and it $200. Well, it's $200. So
I didn't spend 200. I only spent 100.
Yeah, because you bought one.
Yeah.
But so we'll see. Because I'm afraid what's going to happen is I get it. It works great. I'm going to crap. I want another one. Then I'm going to play hell to get a second one. So, but anyway, Hook Lav. If any of you are interested in it, again, it's a wireless Bluetooth lav with onboard recording, and it's due to be delivered next April sometime.
Yeah, I think they said between March and April is when they're targeting it, right?
And
but I think their target was $10,000 is all they were looking for, and I think they're pushing 70,000.
Oh, no, 152.
Oh, 152 is up to
152,000. Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and again, when they say professional, well, we'll see how good it is, because you and I both know how lavs work. They're not always perfect.
Well, the problem with the lavs is that they're quite a ways away from your mouth, and that's all the problem. I mean, that's the problem that I have with my lav that I've got. Probably can't, but it's like on my collar. I know a lot of TV broadcasters use these things. If you watch cable news or whatever, even people are using them more and more in their home studios.
Yeah.
But it is true that audio isn't as good as doing like what we're doing here with pro mic.
Right. Hey, hello, Eileen, Ryan, Christopher, Rick. I'm not on the same computer as the chat, so just go to Google HOOKELAV, 2 words. You'll find it. I'm sure it's got such an interesting name. But yeah, so we started talking about podcasting. What's next? We're talking about what other stuff on the communication spread is what's out there. I don't know, Rob, as far as podcasting goes, I'm on Adam Curry's Mastodon server and participating and chatting with that group. And, don't go in there unless you have a little bit of technical semblance, because it's kind of deep. They're talking APIs and all kinds of other stuff. So
I saw it in Pod News that Mr. Curry's No Agenda show isn't on Spotify anymore for some reason.
So I haven't listened to the latest No Agenda. Did Adam have it taken down, or did Spotify remove it?
I don't know that anybody knows the answer to that question, but it appears that it's not there. So either Adam requested that it get taken down, or maybe they got taken down for content reasons. I know Joe Rogan's been under a lot of controversy, but I think generally everybody kind of expected that was going to be the case, though.
Yeah, here's the search result that comes up. Couldn't find that podcast on Spotify. So I'm sure we're going to hear about it from Adam on his show. So I guess I'm going to have to tune in and get caught up. But because the search result is still there. So that in itself is telling. Oh, why was No Agenda shoe? So there is a Reddit already going on about this. Let me see if I can, because someone started a Reddit yesterday on this particular topic. And of course, Reddit's loading slow. So Curry had already said he was moving his podcast off Spotify to more open. Nothing to do with Spotify. He moved to a more open platform. So he's basically trying to get his show where it's open and not in these locked in verticals. So he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to have Adam on International Podcast Day for an hour.
You are?
On
Great.
September 30th. Matter of fact, what day is September 30th? That's next Wednesday. So I got to look at our when we're live, because I think we're in the evening. So Rob, I'll cross check make sure we're still going to be able to do a show that day, because we got 3 things going on with International Podcast Day next September 30th. So
okay, I mean, it'd be cool if we could do a special episode.
Yeah, they've already booked. So
no, but I mean to do.
Oh, yeah.
Not do it.
Yeah,
That's
so
part of it, right?
I'll have to look at go back, look at the schedule, and see if we can squeeze it in on that day.
But we are going to do a special episode of the New Media Show at the Podcast Movement.
Do we have
virtual event?
Do we have a date for that yet?
Yeah, I believe it's the 21st of October. At the time was it at? I think it was like 6 or 7 o'clock. Yeah, I'll have to.
Okay. Because I'm doing
check that.
I'm doing a presentation on Tuesday the 20th. And then if we're doing one on the 21st, then that works out well.
Right. And then I'm doing another session just as a panelist there.
Yeah. So have you signed up for our tech check then did they send you an email on doing a tech check?
No, not yet.
Okay. Because I did my tech check for my personal, for the solo presentation I'm giving. Already
yeah, I'm not doing a solo.
Yeah, if you're part of a panel, though, you'll get sucked into a tech check day.
Okay.
They want to make sure that what people see. Make sure everything's working right.
Yeah. So what'll be different about what we're doing with Podcast Movement virtual is that we'll be doing a more like a regular show, but it'll just be part of their calendar of an event. It's trying to figure out how we can do live events at these events for this show. Like we've been on stage at these events, but it's this whole hybrid model that we're trying to do with doing it live at the event, but doing it like we always do. But I don't know, Todd, if we want to use a different platform because of this, because we might want to bring in, some additional guests.
Well, I think they want us to use Zoom for that event.
Oh, they do?
I think so. If we want to be rebroadcast on their system. So, I was using Zoom with the person solo on that screen works. But if I have to think about this for a second on how we're going to do that, because I end up being, way it's configured here, I end up being like picture and picture and picture and picture. So I got to think about how to do Zoom. It's just the way Zoom is set up, because normally I would show up in the Zoom box back there. Like you are now, we would be Hollywood Squares. And so I'll just have to think about how to make that work without, but I think we're going to be calling into their Zoom call. So maybe it doesn't matter.
I thought that what Dan wanted was us to provide him with like an embed link or something like that to be able to plug it into their system.
Yeah.
Much use their
get that
system.
Information to me as soon as I can, so I can start brooding on that a little bit.
Yeah.
There's the tech here. I just got to figure out how to do it. And then if we're going to bring some guest in, maybe we'll just, I don't know. We'll have to think about it. Because I don't know if I'll be able to multicast, which is fine. We can record it and then put it up later, but we want to drive people to that event page anyway.
Right. That's true.
So have you thought about any guests?
No, I haven't yet. So that's something that I need to think about. Yeah. So, hey, did you see the article that was written by Stephen Goldstein about how to know when to pull the plug on your podcast?
Oh no, I didn't.
You didn't see this one? Yeah. I think his points are good. I think he runs through 6 signs at time to change or cancel your podcast. The number one was, we'll just wing it with no real plan.
Oh, that's been us from the beginning.
So is it time for us to just pod fade Todd, and we're just done because we just wing it?
Well, I have been contemplating your question you asked me a week ago. Should we go to once a week? Go back. I've been contemplating that. You set something in my brain a little bit loose, and to be honest with you, if we do go back to once a week, I might try to have you say, let's just do this on Wednesday instead of Saturday. That way we get our Saturdays back.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, but just a thought.
That's a possibility.
And it's also maybe easier to get guests if we do it on Wednesday versus Saturday, because
Saturdays can be hard to get
people on. Yeah,
right. That's true.
So
that has proven to be the case. But and part of the reason why I was thinking about that was because I'm thinking about maybe starting a new podcast myself. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. One of your own?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a glutton for punishment?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I've usually, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've usually done 2 podcasts.
Well,
usually
you're not involved in the feed at all?
I guest on the feed sometimes.
Okay.
I think I've been on that show 4 or 5 times, maybe.
Oh.
So that's about it. So it's mainly Elsie and Rob Wall.
Yeah.
So, which is fine, but yeah, I kind of wanted to maybe do something different and that more aligns with what my interests are. So.
Oh, okay. One thing that I did hear is Elsie got fiber.
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
and she's been suffering on rural broadband for years. And she found some company that could bring her in fiber to her, I think it's mountain location.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think she's going to be doing a lot more video and a lot more stuff because that's what's been really holding her back.
So she's been able to be freed
from the
constraints,
the bandwidth limitations she's been living under for a long time.
Well, it's just like me. As soon as I leave the studio here and drive 13 miles, I'm in bandwidth hell.
Yeah.
I can stream one thing, but if my phone rings and it's a FaceTime, I have to stop the stream on my TV to do FaceTime. It can't handle 2.
Right.
So.
And Todd, to kind of go back to the article about
Stephen
Epstein, so his thought was, if you have no real plan for your show, I wouldn't say that. I think we do have a pretty solid idea of what we're trying to do, but it's not like we come in with a big agenda or anything like that.
No.
That has happened though at some of the live events that we do. So like if we do a live event at Podcast Movement, we definitely will walk in with agenda with that. But the other point that he makes is that listeners are rightfully narcissists. Kind of a not so positive thing to say with their time, but have a keen sense of evaluating a show's quality, and everyone gauges and even subliminally judges a show on its level of quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but my comment on that is quality is very subjective. Quality is, a lot of times when a person uses the term quality in podcasting, it feels like too much of a bucket term. I tend to think of it more as audio quality, from the standpoint of the acoustic side of it, or the audio quality. I don't always equate some level of distinction of quality around the judgment of what content quality is. I think it's all over the map. And it's based on what the listener's interest.
But do you think his definition of that is production, and if someone's having a team, or?
I don't know. I mean, he's not really clear on that. I think he's pretty. I think he has the basis quality based on a level of interest, or its comedy or its entertainment value, right, with the audience. I think is where he's coming from. So
Right.
it's more of a content quality question. Is what he's saying. But as you and I both know, we've been around podcasts a long time, and there's all sorts of different levels of what I perceive to be quality and content in podcast.
Yeah.
It's not like, like everything has to sound like National Public Radio or something like that for it to be judged as quality, even though many do judge content that comes out of National Public Radio as quality, right?
Well, you look at this show, and we do a rambling, ongoing conversation that takes all kinds of twists and turns. And so from that standpoint, we have really no type of laid out agenda. So people really don't have any idea what they're going to get. Today, when I wrote the title for YouTube, I just put in here podcasting news and events. I had no clue what we were going to talk about. So,
yeah. And then number 3 is creative bankrupt, is what he says, or story fatigue. So you basically run out of telling storylines to tell in your podcast. But that's where it gets back to your concept around your show is, right?
Yep.
Are you picking a genre that you can keep alive, right? Based on your skills, your knowledge, your background, your connection.
I've always tell people, make sure you can have 2 years. Right. You can do a show for 2 years and, Yeah. If you can't, maybe it's the wrong topic.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody that jumps into a podcast needs to have a wealth of knowledge about that particular genre or have deep connections that can be tapped into. I think, and also just have just a massive level of curiosity about that topic, right? That is willing to dive in and learn from others and do research and really take an active interest. And I know that's what propelled me with my radio show. I just had a fundamental passion for what was happening to the internet and the web. I was all over it all day long.
Right.
So, and that's what drove the content. And then over time, I kind of consider myself to be an expert on what was happening, just because I had so many guests on that shared stuff, insight.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, your show gets better and better and better and better because of, your involvement with others. And then number 4 he has here is freshness dating. It says, tastes and times change, people change. Some shows or topics can't or won't change. So, yeah. That's an interesting too, because some shows, they become over time, if you haven't really thought about them and have a hard time evolving. That was one of the reasons why I dropped doing the Web Talk radio show that I did, was because it turned into something like doing a podcast or a radio show on the telephone, right? It was so ubiquitous and so accepted, and everybody just, it was like a part of normal life, that there was nothing unique about it anymore. So that's why I kind of moved on from it and got involved in media. So, yeah.
Well, be interested to see what your new show is and if you can maintain these non-pod paid characteristics. What's the next thing on his list?
Number 5 is no marketing. The common pain point for most podcasts is awareness trial, right? I agree with that. And many shows, even excellent ones, never find an audience. And it's getting harder to launch and sustain a show without marketing, cross promotion, and social engagement, even a high profile. And Steve has worked on shows like the Trader Joe's podcast, things like that. And I think that's kind of a branded podcast, but I think if you look at that show, I think he had a lot of that stuff. So it totally makes a lot of sense. And then, high profile launches like with Michelle Obama on Spotify, which I don't know if that Michelle Obama show is available off of Spotify. I'm not sure if it is or not, or is it only available on Spotify? But because if it is only available on Spotify, is it a podcast? Well, that's the question, right? Soft time spent listening. So podcast metrics are notoriously limited for content creators. So it's worth doing your best inspector gadget impression and look for clues as to why your show has stagnated. So it's looking at the metric, trying to determine what's going on with your show. There's data that's available in the Apple Podcasts area that you log into. You can see.
But stagnated goes beyond stats.
Right.
These. I do this. I did one the other day. I did a consulting call with a podcaster that felt like their show had stagnated.
Right.
And the first thing I asked them is, "What are you doing? What are you doing to promote the show?" Going back to that marketing message, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they literally were just doing one thing. And I'm just like, that's not going to cut it. I went through I got this like 13 bullet points, and I'm like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And they're like, that's a lot of work. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, they are. It's like starting any business, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have marketing, and you have to have promotion, and you have to have, outreach.
You don't have to spend money. You can.
Well, but you can. Right.
Yeah.
And I would say a lot of podcasters feel like, spending money on ads is, cross-promotional ads. I believe as you look to the future, I think there's going to be more of the listening platforms that are going to have, paid advertising programs to promote, podcasts.
Cross-promotion is the biggest ignored thing. Rick says, when you run out of quality guests or content, just switch to alcohol. And that's what Rick did.
That's Rick's strategy. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Eileen says, I missed the Spreaker live show. Well, when Rob left, the Spreaker live show went away.
Yep. True.
Mike says, I removed my shows from Spotify. So there is a movement.
Yeah. I wonder why that's happening. What do you think? You're not going to say?
I think it's pretty obvious.
Right.
Yeah, you choose. That's the beauty of this. Again, you choose where your content goes. You don't like platform or for whatever reason, you can say no. No, you can't have my content.
Right.
Please take it off.
So I wonder how long Joe Rogan is going to last on Spotify.
I give it 3 months. I give it 3 months.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah. I
he's
think
having all sorts of problems.
I think he better keep his Libsyn account alive. I think 3 months is about what he's going to, because now, okay, you open a can of worms. So Joe is now beholden. Yep. Joe is now has to.
He's a little compromised.
He's going to have, he has, he may not say he's lost editorial control, but he's not going to be as freewheeling and wanting to say everything that he has been saying because his keepers. I say, Joe.
Well, he's not a podcast anymore.
Well, that's true. He's not a pod. That's another thing, right? He isn't a podcast anymore.
So he doesn't own his RSS feed.
Damn, isn't that a kicker? That's right. He's not a podcast. It's the Joe Rogan Experience on Spotify.
Right.
Joe Budden's last day was yesterday.
I don't even know if he's even has a RSS feed.
Well, I think he still does until December 1st or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's supposedly going to go away.
So, but yeah, it's, Joe Budden, I'm curious to see what he's going to do next because his last day at Spotify was yesterday. So,
yeah.
And they weren't doing backflips, but it looked like they're pretty happy to be off. First thing I think those guys are going to do is take a vacation.
Yeah, because he wasn't able to before, right?
Right. You didn't contract that in. Christmas is not allowed to be off unless it's in your contract.
Right. True.
So, Joe said something the other day, and here's the thing. What we have today is an unforgiving society. You cannot make a single mistake.
That's a pretty big mistake, in my opinion. But I guess
Well,
it
which
depends on what you
one?
value.
Which
Right.
one? What?
Oh, I'm talking about Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and what the mistake he made saying something about fires or something?
Well, no. Well, yeah, certainly that's one symptom of his problem. But he built his show based on a trust relationship with his audience about authenticity and realness and all that stuff.
Right.
And if he can't do that anymore, then look at what does the future look like? Is it he can't do what he needs to do to build his audience anymore? Is that what this means?
Well, what it really means is that podcasters have some takeaways here, have some lessons to be learned from what potentially, we'll see. We'll give it some time. And who knows, it may all kind of make it through. But on Spotify's side, they took a lot of risk in bringing him in, signing him, and maybe not fully thinking about the consequences of his content. And then,
well, I think they did because they did take down quite a few of the episodes.
Well, yeah, that's
put him over on.
Well, that's true. But that to me looks like an afterthought. If I'd have been Joe, I'd have said, "You will take all of my content and put it and move it over."
All these big platforms that wanted to have Joe with them. I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard people ask about it. Exclusively on our platform or something like that. And it's like, I never thought that he would actually do it.
Well, I said, someone comes around with $100 million and write that kind of check, Rob. That's life-changing money.
Well, it is. Clearly.
That's retire to like some tropical island somewhere after a couple of years and like don't work anymore forever.
Right.
Now he's got staff and stuff he has to pay, but still, his overhead's not that high.
Right. And I think he was doing pretty well before. Not
right.
Like he was suffering.
I wish he would have hired someone to do his studio design. My God, that red cave, whatever he's in, is. Oh my God, I couldn't believe what they. But I think what it really boils down to then is that, and I may have said that already 5 times, is it's going to be interesting to watch because Spotify's going to have to take the good with the bad. But the question will be: is Joe going to self-censor? You and I have to self-censor on this show. There's stuff that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
So self-censoring isn't necessarily something that loses us trust with our audience. We just can't talk about it. Number 1, maybe we'll get sued. Number 2, we're under NDA. Number 3, it's maybe just a topic that we should leave alone.
But Todd, I think that the difference is that we didn't build a reputation or a huge audience on being a very much authentic, breaking the rules, right? We've always been like this.
Right.
So people know what to expect from us, and we're fairly consistent.
Right,
sure,
right.
We take criticism from
people
that don't agree with what we say or think that we have it all wrong, and a lot of times we do, and I'm willing to admit it. So it's just a matter of correcting and learning something new.
Or we can agree to disagree, and we both continue to be friends. Not necessarily you and I, but people that we correspond with that we don't necessarily name names on the live stream.
No one's ever asked us to take down any content that we've done.
No, never.
So, and I do know that you could make a case, Todd, and I know some attorneys in this space. Gordon Firemark is one of them that says that any guests you have on your podcast, you should probably get a guest agreement. signed by them,
Yeah,
so they can come back after you.
We've never done that.
I've never done
in the
that
entire
either.
time I've been in podcasting, I've never had a guest agreement, even doing interviews at big shows. So maybe that was stupid. But oftentimes people, what? I got to sign what? And then it just ruins the mood. It turns into a business transaction versus a...
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this before, but podcasters are starting to charge people to be guests on their shows now.
Yeah, well, if you've got that type of pull, congratulations.
Well, it was something that I played around with early days of trying to do that, but I could never... I always thought it would compromise the conversation or the content, because then it would say, if I paid to be on this show, I should be able to talk about my product and not talk about a bigger subject, right? That wasn't basically a commercial for whatever company I was working for. I mean, because back when I was doing my radio show, I had CEOs from like Scott Braid, or I had CEOs from security companies, or big companies like Microsoft would come on the show, and it just doesn't make sense to charge people to be guests under those circumstances. But some shows are trying to do it.
Yep. Well, I think what we'll have to see then with this relationship that goes on is how much, it looks to me like Spotify has told the employees, oh, we hear you. Now go back to work. Which we'll see you will see if that continues, as if Joe has any more controversial guest stuff. But that's the beauty of podcasting, is that's what made his show unique. And, again, I'll go back and say it again. We live in a society today where you and I, Joe, others, we say one thing wrong. And even if we apologize for that transgression, we're damned. There is no social justice warriors now assume if you say one thing wrong, that you are a label is applied against you. And it's very sad we live in a society now that, number one, doesn't allow people to have redemption. Number two, isn't willing to have and be able to listen to controversial people and hear their opinions. And, maybe that person that, let's say Joe's interviewing, is the biggest bigot in the world. Maybe. Right. Maybe that person is that. And again, if it is, then wouldn't you like to hear that and know that?
Yeah.
Then you can draw your conclusion on somebody. Because there are some people out there that wows me all the time. Hey, that came out of your mouth? Is that the way you always are? But I'm not necessarily one. Let's hear the rest of the story, right?
Yeah.
So my perspective, though, continues to be a little bit different in this space. It's just because, and I think you agree with me, freedom of speech is free, but what you say may end up getting you taken to court. Or you might lose your job.
Consequences.
Yeah,
for freedom of speech.
So, and it may get you removed from a platform or something, You're free to say it. Just be ready to put on the big boy, big girl pants when it comes to the, how should we say it, the reaction and consequences to that free speech.
And the bigger your show, the more consequences usually occur.
Right.
So there's a direct correlation there. So Todd, did you see that Mr. Mark Cuban is going to be a keynote at the Podcast Movement?
Yeah, I did.
That was announced today.
How much did they pay him?
That they didn't disclose.
No, but that's a big fish.
But that's not the first time Mark has spoken at a podcast conference. He actually spoke, I believe, at Blog World.
Really?
I believe.
Wow.
In the early days. Yeah, I got a chance to talk to him after that event.
Now, you talk about a controversial figure.
Right.
Yeah, Mark is not without controversy.
No, not at all.
And he's very outspoken.
Oh, yeah. He's very active. He's
yeah.
very politically active,
Yeah.
very active in the media side. So,
yeah.
But I do say, as far as I know, he's not a podcast.
No, he's not. But maybe.
But he's been involved in digital media
Right.
since the very early days.
And he's rich.
He is. That he is. He sold his broadcast.com company to Yahoo, like almost $6 billion.
Yeah, he made some money.
Yep. So that was a long time ago, though, that he did that. And he owns the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
But his most claim to fame is Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Recently, right?
But I don't think he makes a lot of. Well, he probably gets some deals and business stuff from Shark Tank, obviously. But
yeah.
Hey, Mark, I'll pitch you. I got an investment for you over here. Just give me 10 minutes. I have to be careful.
Such a deal.
I have to be careful. Those proclamations end up in my phone ringing sometimes. That I did that once, and Steve Jobs' secretary called me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. It was interesting, and he basically clicked over. He says, "You're on the clock," and I had 10 minutes to explain myself without any preparation. Got a MacBook Pro out of the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess Spotify launched the concept of polls.
Yeah, what do you think about polls
for listeners in their platform for podcasts? I'm assuming that the podcast goes in and creates a poll in Spotify.
Yeah.
And say polls will be available on participating episodes to most Spotify lists on September 23rd. Rolls out,
which is today.
Yep.
They're really pandering here, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, they're trying to do some new things. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't have any complaints. I'm not exactly sure how you actually enable a poll in there. I guess you have to log into your account with them as a podcaster. Assuming is how they do it.
Yeah, I think that we had a little Slack discussion about it in the Blueberry group, and we were basically, Mackenzie sent the link over. I'd already read it in the news and kind of passed over it, and she had made a comment about it. I'm like, who looks at their phone while a podcast is playing? And she basically said, well, during the beginning or the end, you'll probably look at your phone at the end of the episode. So maybe you'll see the poll at the end of the episode or be triggered by the host to say, hey, look at your phone now. There's a poll here from Spotify.
Right. Or it could be done in a notification too that pops up on your screen.
But the question is, why would you not do that if you want to run a poll, then would it not be better to do that on your own website so you don't alienate the Android users and those that don't like Spotify? And, if you're really going to run polls, don't you want to make that inclusive to everyone instead of making someone that's listening on Overcast to get upset because your poll is over on Spotify?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that does make sense to try and do it across your whole audience instead of just on one platform.
So Eileen says Joe Rogan can pay Libsyn $5 a month to keep his RSS feed as Plan B. Well, I don't think, Eileen, I don't think Joe was paying too much to Libsyn before. I think he was one of those grandfathered in shows. And you know something, I bet you Libsyn's profit margin goes up this next quarter if you're an investor with Joe Rogan leaving and that, the bandwidth going down. The Libsyn actually may show a better profit this quarter. Rick says,
all I can say is I'm glad you did say that.
That's right, because you can't say that or you'd get an SEC violation. But I'm good. And what's that little disclaimer? Discussion about this cannot be used as investment advice. I'm not an investor. I'm not an investment advisor.
Right. Yeah.
Anything Todd says can and can't, should not and will not be held against me in a court of law. Rick says Joe Set looks like the inside of a Jeffries tube from Star Trek. Ryan says cancel culture works both ways. The fact that listeners only want to hear their own opinion may actually be the positive for podcasters. Find a niche and be that show that some group of listeners support because they agree with everything.
Right.
Well, I guess that's the success of talk radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
True.
Because people don't listen to Rush or Hannity or any of those other people because they don't agree with him.
Right, exactly. People tune into what they align with more and more these days.
But a good host, though, and people say what they, okay, listen to Howard, listen to all these big name folks that have made it big in radio. If you listen to, actually try to calm down and keep your emotions in check and not be triggered.
Right.
You can actually learn something from these real famous folks that do these shows because they play devil's advocate all the time in their own shows. And they do it in a way that makes you say, I agree or I disagree. So there's some tactics they use they think is well played for podcasters. You may hate the content. You may want to throw up every second you're hearing it. But if you listen to how they portray the content and how they put it forth, so there are some huge takeaways. I listened to some Stern earlier this week. I listened to his interview with she's got a different nickname. Activist. What's her name? She's older, in her 80s. She was in Vietnam. She did huge. What is her name? Oh God, someone's going to help me here in the chat room. I know her nickname, but I don't want to use it on the show. What is her name? But anyway, he had an interview with her, and I'm not a big fan of her at all. But it was interesting to hear Stern ask the questions that he asked. I was just like, oh, look what he did there. How he got put that hook in and and reeled it in. There's a lot of things you can learn from these folks that have these big multi-million people listening audiences.
Right.
We may not like them, but boy, we can learn from them and put our own spin on it.
How did you hear this this post that I read about Pod Save America helping to raise $22.7 million from 251,000 people for the campaign against Mitch McConnell?
Yep, I heard about that. So
that's a lot of money to be raised from a podcast.
First thing I heard about it was from, and what set me initially was the article was written by someone in the UK.
Right.
And I really initially thought
Matt Deegan
from
the British Podcast Board.
So he was just referring to Pod Save America, but when I initially heard it, I said foreigners can't donate to, it's a federal election commission violation for a foreigner to donate. And my first reaction was, why is this from the guy in the UK talking about this? But that wasn't the case. He was just talking about what Pod Save America did with their American listenership to raise this money. So, but my first reaction was, whoa, what did they do there? Did they violate FCC? And they didn't. But that's the first thing I went to look for. And then I finally got the context of the article. But That's a big That's a big bunch of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, 200. How much was it?
I mean, if
it
you
was
think about that kind of that says something about podcasting as you look to the future and the influence that podcasting has on politics, which has always been a big question mark, right? It's like there hasn't been a lot of political advertising in podcasting, so this may be a way that we'll see more political influence in the podcast realm. It's not so much around advertising.
Rick helped me out. It was Jane Fonda, who was interviewed on Stern. So
okay.
So Rob, what was the amount that they raised? 23 million, right?
22.7 million
from
251,000 listeners.
All right, so 20. Let me just hang on. I'm getting this. Let me get my calculator ready because that's two.
What's the average donation?
Yeah. So I need another zero here. Yeah, I need one more zero. 22,700,000 divided by what? How many people?
251,000.
250. Oh, so it's not going to be that big, but that is an average donation of $90.
Wow, that's actually pretty high.
That's pretty high. Well, if you think about it, 250,000 people, how many of those have ever given a donation to a political candidate before or a PAC or something to that effect? I don't know about you, but I subscribe to a lot of news feeds, and I'm now getting inundated. Every Democrat in the state of Michigan wants money. Every Republican in the state of Michigan wants money. I'm even getting calls from the Hawaii Democrats and Hawaiian Republicans. They all want my money, and I don't donate to a political faction. I haven't in many, many years because it just ends badly when someone that if you're doing business and someone says, "Oh, Todd, you donated to this campaign." And again, it's about, you can't anymore.
Right. Yeah, I'm on the website, and it does have contribution rules. And it says that the contribution rules are: I am a U.S. citizen and lawfully admitted permanent resident. I can also be a green card holder, I guess, as well. Says this contribution is made from my own funds, and funds are not being provided to me by another person or entity for the purpose of making this contribution. So
there's because guess what? What is you have a maximum as an individual that you can contribute to. Well, I don't know about PAC, but there's a maximum. I think it's $3,000 is the maximum you can contribute to, somebody's reelection campaign. Yeah. I might be wrong.
I mean, there's a total of 7 rules here. I mean, you can't be a registered foreign agent. You can't be a federal lobbyist. That's a registered federal lobbyist and contribute. It says, I am making this contribution with my own personal credit card and not with the corporation or business credit card or a card issued to another person. So,
you do know that if you don't follow those rules, it's $100,000 fine for, as you as a citizen can be charged by the FEC.
Right. You can actually go to jail for that.
Yeah, you can. And people do. On both sides of the house.
People have.
Yes, they do. They go to jail all the time over a stupid political donation. Don't give them any money.
Right. It says, get Mitch or die trying. That's the headline of the page. Wow. Okay.
So,
anyway,
well, that's
as close as we're going to get to politics on this show.
What's funny about that is if you think then about that, I don't think there's an equivalent conservative-based show that is done anything like that.
Yeah.
But yet, so this really is an interesting, I don't know if it's a dichotomy, is that the right word? If you think about talk radio, truly dominated by conservative voices.
Right.
It is flat out. And, I don't even, be honest with you, because I don't listen to talk radio more, I don't know of any liberal talk hosts that are successful. There's probably some out there. I just don't know it. And
I would say that the Pod Save America is
yeah,
an
that's
example.
That would be, and that's what I'm saying. In podcasting, you've got this huge left-leaning show, and then you have on radio, you've got this right-leaning powerhouse. But I don't think Rush or Hannity or any of those folks have ever raised $23 million for a PAC, or can't. They probably can't. Maybe they can't.
I don't know.
I don't know the rules on that, because equal airplay and all that stuff plays into radio. It doesn't in podcasting.
Right.
So there might be some rules in that in radio too. So I just don't know enough. Maybe a radio person can tell us. Because I think if you do fundraising for one party, you have to do, it's just like you have somebody on for 5 minutes. You got to give equal airplay 5 minutes to the other person, or at least extend the opportunity.
Well, and that podcast is part of a network called Crooked Media.
Right.
Is the platform.
And they didn't take a penny of that. That all went straight to that PAC or whatever that is. Was it a PAC or a committee or?
It didn't say specifically. I would imagine it probably would add to a sort of a PAC.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I think that's saying a lot. Of course, we had, you had a highly emotional event with Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying.
Right.
And the immediate announcement that they were going to, push her replacement through. So I'm not here to debate that, but that pissed a lot of people off. So it was, if they had planned on doing that, if they did that in reaction to that, which I'm assuming they did, no one, I have no doubt that was part of the emotional thing too. People reacted to that. And in podcasting, it's not just political issues that cause people to be emotionally reactive. You and I have had stuff happen to our stuff that we've done, that we've had emotional reaction to our personal lives and commentary that people have reacted pretty heavily to. So,
oh yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah, I would say I would agree.
And did I pronounce her name correctly? If I didn't, I apologize. I think I did. But yeah, that's so then now, Rob, hey, that's the question. Someone comes to the new media show. I say, hey, we want you to do a political ad for candidate X.
Well, I believe that we got a donation last week.
Oh, we did. We did get a donation
from Gail.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We had one came in. Thank you for reminding me that came in.
Yeah.
So I guess from that perspective, well, again, that's not maybe completely related here, but Rob, I don't think I'd be comfortable in taking a political ad on this show. No. I wouldn't take a political ad on my tech show either.
Well, it doesn't fit with the content that we do. If you look at that show is very much a political show. I mean, a lot of the co-hosts,
right? They're political. They're political. They worked in the White House
in the Obama administration. Right. So you can kind of see where that comes from. Right.
So but even in my tech show, if someone came to me, it didn't matter if it was right, left, down the middle, I don't think I would. Boy, that money's awful. That's why the mainstream media loves the political season. I was I was tuned in to where was I going? I had a radio station turned on, and one of the few times, and it was a Battle Creek, Michigan radio station. You want to hear nasty? I have never heard such nasty ads. You don't see these nasty ads on TV.
Right.
These were nasty. I was shocked, and it was actually from the primary candidate, and I was like, "Wow, really?" Right. I mean, I almost would like to record them and have them to play. They were nasty, and
politics is the norm now, right? And what's fascinating, Todd, and you raise a really interesting point. I don't know that political advertising really fits with the medium of podcast. you think about it,
you're going to piss 50% of your audience off.
Right. I mean, I don't know what it is about television that it tends to be. Maybe there's just more of a separation in perception between the advertising and the content.
But here the thing was, I've seen some TV ads. I'm on YouTube TV. I still get ads. If I'm watching the news or whatever, I get both Trump and Biden ads back and forth. And they're the typical run-of-the-mill ads, right? Mm. But what I heard on essentially, and I'll just say it was Biden ad. I was floored. I was absolutely floored how dirty the ads were. And just from the way the messaging that went on, and I don't think that, and because that radio station and the type of music that was being played, they were definitely targeting a demographic with those ads. And I was just blown. I mean, I was blown away. And I don't know. I'm sure there's a clearinghouse for people to be able to listen to all those types of ads that are running by both candidates, because I'm sure Trump is running just as much negative, nasty stuff as he is in other markets. But it kind of, and I lived in Hawaii for 25 years, Rob. We got no ads. There was no national advertising in Hawaii. So for me, being back, hearing this stuff, it's floored me. I guess you guys maybe are used to it. I'm not. Right. I was shocked. I really, really was. But that ad 99% of podcasts would never run it. But radio, they have the radio station. Yeah, we'll take the advertising. We'll take the money. The jock doesn't have to endorse it. So it's not like it's, but right. I was floored. I was really, really floored. But yeah, I don't think podcasting can take, unless you're a political show. But then you're already advertising to the base. Why would a Democratic candidate run an ad on that program, Pod Save America?
And you're not going to get the counter candidate run on that program either, right?
No.
So I think it really speaks to the culture of the medium.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
fit.
Play well. Right.
No, it doesn't fit.
It's interesting, though. I would say that you see it on television too. So if you watch the big cable channels, I would say that some of the cable channels run competitive ads.
Well, I see both on YouTube TV. They were both. It's, and they're consecutive. Right. There's a Trump ad, 30-second run, and there's a Biden run the next 30 seconds.
Yeah. Are we seeing ads for Joe Biden on Fox News? Are we seeing ads for Donald Trump on MSNBC and CNN? Yeah. I think we are.
Yeah, we are.
It's an interesting mix that happens in the television, right? But for some reason, it just doesn't feel right.
No. There would, if it doesn't matter if we ran one, it didn't matter who, we would get pummeled by this audience. They would be like, half the audience would say, "You've sold out." I'm leaving. I'm not listening to you guys anymore.
And why is that? I think it's because the content is so related to the hosts.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And whether or not the show is nonpartisan, non-political. I think it's probably a little more okay if it's a political show, right? But that tends to be one side or the other. I mean, how many? I think there are podcasts.
There are that are left and right. But I don't think there's a lot.
No, but those shows
probably could
get away with it.
Yeah, and they would have to run a balance of both if they could do it.
Yeah,
but but for me, I had this big reaction hearing this ad that I was literally shocked to hear. It didn't make me turn off the radio. So I didn't stop listening to the music that station was playing because of the ad. Whereas if that had run on my show, all of a sudden the numbers would just, 50% or whatever of the audience would be gone.
Right. True.
And it's another thing. It's, I heard something too. It's one of on Stern, one of his staff members won't say who he's voting for. So everyone automatically thinks because he won't say it's Trump and he says he's undecided. And Howard Stern's very publicly said he's going to vote for Biden. There's no, everyone knows there's no, he wears politics on his sleeve. So it's, people understand where Stern's coming from. So, but doesn't mean that the audience leaves Stern but Stern is equal opportunity basher. He bashes them both. So, but they were making such a big deal of this one of the staff members not saying who they would vote for. So here's, Rob, the biggest suicide you could do on your show is if you have a non-political show, is say, I am voting for. Why would you do that on your podcast? Voting is supposed to be this personal thing where you go in, but after people listen to someone for a number of years, they probably have an inclination of how a person votes. But
but is that really right? I mean, should you be able to say who you would vote for?
Well, you can, but hey, guess what? Freedom of speech, Rob.
To judge you. I mean, it's not like you have to put out some vitriol when you say that, right? That will piss somebody off.
But you'll piss in today's age, Rob. You get.
I mean, are we so sensitive now?
Yes.
To this topic.
Yes.
That even saying who you're going to vote for is going to piss somebody off.
Yes.
Huh?
Have you been on Facebook recently?
No, I know. But I'm just posing the question.
People are
really
defriending people for who they're voting for.
I know, but is that really right?
No. Well,
I mean, I think we all need to kind of settle down.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right.
I don't care what your politics are. I care what kind of person you are.
Well, more and more those two things are aligned with each other, though. The assumption is, right?
The assumption is
right. That's what people assign who you vote for is somehow who you are.
Right. And I have good friends that are on both sides of the thing, and we, and they can joke with one another, and talk and have a conversation.
Right.
But now you're voting for
who?
Who?
Issue in podcasting, right?
Yes. You voting for who? Oh, I'm going to boycott you.
Right.
And then you have the other half that says, "Oh, we're going to go support them." Huh?
Yeah. I mean, have you heard that happening? Where people will boycott a show because a host says they're going to vote for?
I have not heard of that specifically, but it just I'm extrapolating it from what's going on in the real world.
Right.
Yeah. So I would assume. But
I guess it depends on how kind of deeply emotional you are about stuff.
On my tech show, there are topics that come up that are definitely driven, like FCC stuff, FAA, that are always agendanized because of politics. They took this route because they're Republican. They took this route because they were Democrat. All this stuff kind of happens. Legislation that's being introduced in the tech world, that freedom of speech, all this different stuff. So I don't come down right, left, because there's oftentimes there'll be a topic I'd be like, we need this.
Yeah. I mean, it also gets back to a lot of these topics really shouldn't be politicized.
Right. Well, shouldn't be, but they are.
I know. And that's where I think we're all making mistakes.
So when I talk about an issue, legislation or a rule, or there's stuff that's happening right now with spectrum licensing and all kinds of stuff, and I will just state my opinion on, but that doesn't make me a Republican or a Democrat. That's because I'm looking at it from a mankind tech thing, I'm looking at right now Muni Broadband. We talked about Elsie earlier getting fiber.
Right.
And SpaceX right now is trying to put up a satellite consortium, a satellite thing, and they have to get their transit speeds down under a certain thing in order to get access to this rural broadband fund, billions of dollars.
Right.
And you've got AT&T now that's changing their mind and saying they want better spectrum maps because they can't get the money unless there's better coverage maps and finding out who isn't served and who is. And so it's what we need in America is rural broadband.
Right.
That's the fact.
We needed it for a long time. Yeah.
But what we have had is, because there's been no competition, it's been AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, and then a consortium of wired companies. They take this money and they put in another mile. They don't put in 100 miles. They put in a mile and get $1 billion for that. And it's really not doing anything to help rural broadband. So from my perspective is what AT&T is now saying, and I'm getting off track here, but really it's not political, but it's still political about that money. And
making things political draws division between people, and that's where the problem is, I believe.
If you drive down my road, there's and if I start at the beginning of where my road I live on originates to where it ends about 3 miles, and there's probably 50 houses on that street that have no high-speed internet.
Right.
And that's just one road. But yet, because it's 3 miles, the density isn't high enough, and Spectrum and all these other companies won't run a damn cable down that road. I offered to pay for it. I said, I'll pay the $12,000 to bring that cable 2 miles and 2/10 to my house. And they won't do it. I'll pay for the cable.
And they still won't do it.
They still won't do it. I said, I'll pay the $12,000. And then I'm going to go down and basically talk to my neighbors and say, hey, can you chip in $100?
Right.
To get
probably more than that.
Whatever. Well, it's worth it for me to have the cable run, right? But they won't run the cable. I was going to pay for it. So if I can't pay for broadband to be brought to my house, because what it is long-term upkeep, not enough nodes on that, the power, I'm a loss leader, even if I paid for the cable to be put in.
Right.
So, damned if we do, damned if we don't.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, before we jet here, the pod front, or is it, no, the X front happens tomorrow.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that or not. It's being hosted by Miss Mandy. Erica Mandy is going to be hosting this, and she's from the Newsworthy podcast. So it starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
I have a team member attending or watching.
I believe that's Eastern Standard Time, but I'm not sure. It doesn't say on their website.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's happening. A bunch of presentations tomorrow. It's more on the independent side.
Right. Well, it's a group of independents that have teamed up not to have to pay that big dollar bill to be able to participate in some of the other upfronts.
In the IAB upfront. And
you said it, not me.
Well, no.
Well, so now the question is, that little consortium, what are they going to charge outsiders to come in and participate? So how many upfront events are there ultimately going to be? Right? There probably could be a lot. Bluebrry could start doing it.
There could be a lot, right.
Blueberry could start doing an upfront. Yeah.
There probably should be.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't appear that that they're charging, or wait a minute.
Well,
they're charging for attendance.
No, but there's a group. I didn't ask because we don't do upfronts, but my curiosity would be hey, Blueberry would like to participate in the upfront. How much is it going to cost me to participate? And they may not want our participation. I'm not saying they do or don't.
Well, it's more
speculation.
For podcast work.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right.
Those are that's the focus of it.
And there's a new podcast network launching about every day.
Yeah.
Well, did we irritate you guys at the conversation today?
I don't think so. So they're doing 5 trend sessions as well. So there's a content piece to this that goes beyond just the 60 presenters and 15 networks that are going to be showing here at this event.
60 presenters? Oh my!
60 total presenters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Hey, by the way, you want to talk about some of the email exchange we've had before we go?
I suppose we can. Sure.
So we had some feedback on transcripts versus closed caption.
Yep.
And here's just my takeaway. And I think it's following what at least I said on the last show. I think, Rob, you agreed with me that we need to start really looking at this and figuring out solutions so that we can better serve those with disabilities. And
right.
I think we've done some initial steps. Most of us have, like I think we make available through our partner, people can get transcript. It's a 85% solution. Rob, I don't know what you guys do on your side. I think you have some partners over there that you work with.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we're not officially have built into our platform any transcription services, but certainly our podcasters use a lot of, various external providers. Right.
So the discussion is, do we just need transcripts or do we need to have closed caption? I contend that we have to ultimately have closed caption where on a player, on a website, those, as it plays or on a mobile device, they're able to see the...
yeah, right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
And it gets back to, the conversation, what was around, closed captions is something different than transcript. I guess our commentary on that is that, yeah, they are quite different. I agree. If you look at the ADA, they're more of a display on the screen. If you think of around video, right? It's kind of like real time. One of the problems with a lot of that, their accuracy. It depends on if they're pre-produced content or live content. Live content tends to have a lot of inaccuracies, but pre-produced, pre-recorded content where you can have those those closed captions edited and really done well, it can be a terrific experience. I think the comment is that closed captioning web players is complicated to program, and I know I've talked about it with our engineering side, and they're like going, well, I don't really want to go there. If we don't have to, right? I think that would be the feedback of any engineer that looks at this dilemma, because we've always tried to create fairly lightweight web players, right? We're concerned about page download speeds and all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, transcripts could be the source for those closed captions, if they're done well on an on-demand standpoint. And I do believe that the listening platforms are probably or the operating system platforms are going to be probably the ones that are going to want to solve this also.
Right.
And I think we're seeing it a little bit on Android already, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that Apple's solution too. So maybe but it begs the question, Todd, is do we need, I know that the big platforms are taking transcripts right now, right? They're creating their own of all of our content, right? So this may not be a big issue going forward that we as platforms have to address, but there has been an interest in maybe adding a new RSS tag that enables us to link to a PDF file.
Yeah, I think there should be 2.
Right.
So one for a transcript, one for a closed caption qualified file.
Right. So some listening disabled people may want to just download the file and read it. Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we stand on that. I think what we're trying to do is follow the law. It's a separate discussion whether or not closed captions in a web player is a good experience.
Yeah, that's a whole different. That's a whole different discussion. But
right. So anyway,
but that doesn't exist largely.
Yeah. No.
Right. Okay. ToddAtBlueberry.com. @GeekNews is my Twitter account.
And my Twitter account @RobGreenlee, and then you can send me an email if you want, robg@lipson.com.
And keep your comments coming, and we definitely appreciated the donation. That actually, I think it pays for about one live streaming of the show. So it's good. It's all good. That's a very positive thing.
Right.
The PayPal link is at newmediashow.com. So do appreciate that. Yep. But we'll be back with you on Saturday at 12 noon for another show. Now, this is a big week for me, Rob, because I'm prepping for the podcast awards.
That's right.
It happens on September 30th. And so go over to internationalpodcastday.com to check out the schedule for International Podcast Day, because that's happening a week from today. And then definitely go to podcastawards.com and you'll be able to see basically what we've got planned. And but should be fun by all. Got Adam Curry. It's going to be showing up on International Podcast Day as well, as along with we have several powerful women in podcasting that is going to be on the event as well. So at least that's our portion of our contributions to International Podcast Day, internationalpodcastday.com. So everybody, all right. Thanks. We'll see you next time here in the media show. Take care.
Bye. I thought I got to go. All
right, Rob. Take care.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.